Hey everyone, this is Jeremy Schiefling from Khan Academy. Thank you so much for joining us for our kickoff session for LearnStorm 2020. If I could, I would have virtual confetti and balloons going left and right. But just know that we are super excited about this moment and really can't wait to deliver you an awesome program. And to that end, if we move on to the next screen, we've got an all-star team lined up here to share the LearnStorm experience with you. First of all, I have to give a major shout out to Aviv and Elle, who are the architects of the LearnStorm program this year. They're the ones who are working hard to deliver amazing prizes and amazing experiences for your students. For all of you who've taken Khan for Educators this summer, I know there are thousands of you out there, you are already well acquainted with Megan, who leads our teacher education team, and as a teacher herself, has been sharing the Khan story with thousands around the world. And then myself, I'm always happy to share Khan's story and answer any questions that you have. Now, that being said, I know the number one question that everyone asks on every webinar, is this being recorded? And the answer is yes. You will get a copy in your inbox in a few hours. So have no fear if you have to hop off, if you have to make dinner for your family, we've got your back. That'll be coming automatically. In addition, we'd love to make it really interactive. So if you've got questions at any point, go to the questions section on the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll be taking those live throughout the session, as well as Megan answering a bunch at the very end. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Megan to introduce you to LearnStorm 2020.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. As Jeremy mentioned, we're here to talk about LearnStorm, which we're super excited is back for 2020. And so as Jeremy mentioned, feel free to ask questions throughout this session. We'll definitely stick around to answer any questions at the end, but feel free to ask things as we go through some of the steps to get started or any of the concepts that might, need a little bit more follow-up. So just a quick note to get ourselves in the right state of mind, LearnStorm is Khan Academy's free fall program that gives teachers a fun way to help students gain skills, foster growth mindset, and build teamwork. LearnStorm is live. You can sign up right now and runs all the way until November 15th this year. And so for those who have used LearnStorm in the past, it's actually extended a little bit longer this year because we want to make sure that we give as many teachers and as students the opportunity to engage with LearnStorm, either in classrooms or virtually, because we want you to know that LearnStorm is just as easy to use in a distance learning setting as it was to use in your in-person classes. And LearnStorm is built on three major fundamentals. First of all, it uses that high quality content you're used to from Khan Academy. You can choose any content from any course on Khan Academy to assign and use with students. So if you're a math teacher, you can use math. If you're a computer science teacher, use some of our computer science content. If you're an elementary teacher, feel free to mix and match some of our ELA content along with some of our math content. And then once you've assigned content, we'll get more into this, there's a tracker that will show students how much progress they're making, and they have to work together in order for them to earn progress as a class. So the LearnStorm tracker offers a great piece of energy and surprise for student motivation and incorporates some of those key aspects of teamwork for the whole class to complete assignments together. And then the third piece is these growth mindset activities, which we highly emphasize during LearnStorm, but are available to students and teachers all year round. And so we've got these great growth mindset activities, and there's one set for elementary school and middle school, and then one set for high school. So if you're looking for something a little more targeted to your age group, we do have two sets of activities, one for our younger students and one for our traditionally older students. And these types of activities, jumpstart students learning around concepts like their brain is a muscle and that how to learn from failure. And we've developed these resources in collaboration with PERTS, which is a Stanford-based research group. And along with the individual activities, the videos and articles for students, there are curricula for teachers to use if you need a little more support. So again, LearnStorm is this really great free fall program. It's going to use all of Khan Academy's existing content. It has this great tracker that we're going to talk about a little bit more and helps jumpstart the year by talking a little bit about growth mindset. And here are just a few comments we wanted to share from some previous teachers and students using LearnStorm. Just something to think about. Our teachers are encouraging other students, how helpful it was to think about growth mindset, turning negative ideas into positive ones. We know this is a really unique school year, and that teachers and students alike are looking for opportunities to build teamwork and to really engage their students and to help them learn, even when it might seem like an unusual situation. Okay, so in 2020, our hope is to continue to delight you as teachers and students more than ever. So this year, we're going to hope to connect teachers and students, even if you're apart, and ensure that the learning continues to spark joy during these unprecedented times. So we're going to quickly show you this, and we apologize, the sound will not play on this video, but this is a video of students making progress and looking at the LearnStorm tracker, and this is the type of feeling we hope you and your students have when you use LearnStorm this year. So as you can see, we have students all over the globe who are really thrilled, and here's some of our high school students even, to really see the progress that they're making. So if this excites you or your students, let's talk about how to get involved. So the first step is to enroll in LearnStorm. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sign up for a Khan Academy teacher account. If you already have a teacher account, you can log into that existing account. Once either you've logged into your existing account, or if you create a new account, you'll land on this bottom right screen, which is known as the teacher dashboard. And you'll want to look at your classes. As long as you have at least one class created, then you'll see this LearnStorm banner at the top with this big blue button that says Enroll in LearnStorm 2020. Once you click the button, you're enrolled, and all your classes will be added automatically. So if you're a teacher with multiple sections, all of your classes will be enrolled just by hitting that one button. So once you do that, and you'll be able to see your banner update to look like this. So at the top of your teacher page, this is your teacher dashboard, what you should see when you log in. You'll see this every time. They'll say, keep going, keep growing, which is our motto around LearnStorm. And so it'll encourage you to check your progress on the LearnStorm tracker. So one more time, just to get started, you want to log into your teacher account or create a Khan Academy teacher account if you don't have one yet. You want to create a class, and then you want to click the blue Enroll in LearnStorm 2020 button. Once you do, your banner will update to look like this. And by clicking that blue button, you'll always be able to check your student progress. If you're looking for more information on how to create your teacher account or how to set up a class, there's an additional handout right in this webinar. It's a step-by-step guide on how to get started with LearnStorm that'll walk through some of these steps and provide links to additional resources for getting started. For those of you who have used some of the resources for Khan for Educators, which is our teacher-facing course, you'll recognize some of those same resources on how to set up classes and how to check your student roster. So, all right, so now you've activated your account, you've added your classes, you've enrolled in LearnStorm. Great job. The next thing you want to do is add your classes and roster students. So if you don't have a class and you don't have students yet, if you want to add a new class just for LearnStorm, what you want to do is click the Add a Class button at the top right of your teacher dashboard. Once you do, you'll see the pop-up that you see here that'll ask you to name your class or import your class from Google Classroom. If you're a teacher who uses Google Classroom, we highly encourage you to link your Google Classroom. It'll pull in your roster automatically and send invitations to your students. If you don't have Google Classroom, no problem. Students can join with a class link or code, and each class has a unique code that's generated, and you can give that to students at any point in the year. So if students join your class late, you can add them in just by adding the code. Or you can copy that code, send it by email. Some teachers like to take a moment in a virtual setting and they'll put their full screen of the class code and have all the students join at once. Or some might send messages with that class link or code through their school messaging app. The third option is you can create your students' accounts for them, but we only recommend that for students under 13. For students who are under 13, we put some restrictions on their Khan Academy account, things mostly around messaging and interacting with other users. And so if your students are not under 13, we don't encourage you to create accounts for your students because you'll be limiting some of their capabilities. Again, for more information on this, definitely check our step-by-step guide and some of our resources about getting started. Once you've set your students up, you should see a student roster like this. And so on your class, if you ever want to check to make sure all your students are enrolled, from your teacher dashboard, you select your class, and then you want to hit that Students tab on the left-hand side that's highlighted here in green. This would show you a list of all the students that are in your class. And as you can see on the top right where it says Share Class Code, that's the class code you can share with any student so they can enroll in your class at any time. Step 3, we want to set course mastery goals for your students. Khan Academy is built on a mastery system, which means we want students to truly and deeply understand concepts. We don't want them to just move through them. And so each of the skills that they work on will be shown at a different mastery level, whether they're from not started all the way up to mastered. And we encourage students to keep practicing, to try and retry skills until they reach mastered. And when all those skills are accumulated, they can look at the mastery for an entire course. And so we encourage teachers to set a mastery goal to track students' mastery progress over the course of the entire year. And what's great about this is both you as a teacher and all of your students can see their individual progress, along with you as a teacher can see their unit and course level practice. So if you go to your class, on the left-hand side, there's a tab called Placement under Course Mastery. And you'll see this screen, Create a Course Mastery Goal for your students. And then click the blue Create Goal button. Once you do, you'll see the smaller pop-up on this screen. You'll be able to choose a course, student, and a due date. Now remember, most of these courses are expected to take an entire year. So make sure that when you set the due date, you're thinking pretty far in advance. Once you click Create Goal, all the students you've selected will receive that course mastery goal to work on throughout the school year. If you want to check to make sure that everything looks right, if you go back to that Placement tab, and this is the same screen you should see once you click Done, you'll see the course mastery goal, all the students assigned to that goal, and the due date. If you ever need to go back and add a student or maybe edit the due date, if you click the Actions tab on the right side, you can edit that goal at any time. All right, so now we've logged in and enrolled for LearnStorm. We've set up our class with our students. We've assigned a mastery goal. And now here's the crucial part. In order for students to get recognized progress in LearnStorm, we need to create individual assignments in the form of exercises, articles, videos, quizzes, and they can come from any of the content on Khan Academy. The easiest way to assign content is from that class. Select the Assign tab on the left-hand side, and then you'll see the full course with every skill for the entire course available on what we call the Assign tab. If you click the box on the right, you'll see an Assign button light up on the top, and then when you click Assign, you'll see this pop-up box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the live product just to show you what this looks like in real time. So if I'm a teacher and I log into my account, I land here on my teacher dashboard. As you can see, I'm enrolled in LearnStorm and I can always check my progress. I'm going to click my first class on LearnStorm. And then I'm going to click Assign. And you can see here, this is the course mastery goal I've assigned to my class. And so this is the course that I'll see first. This is the course I've assigned to the class. So underneath, I'll see each of the units and the lessons and the individual items I can assign to my students. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to say, I really want to send this video and this exercise by clicking the box on the right-hand side. And then I'm going to choose Assign by clicking the Assign button in the top right. I'll now see a pop-up box that says I'm going to assign 2 items to my class. And I have a choice for any of the things that have questions, like exercises, quizzes, or unit tests, that I can assign the same or different questions for each student. Then I can choose my class or classes. So if you have multiple sections, you can assign this to all of your classes at once, which students I want to assign it to, my due date, let's say I want this due next Wednesday, and then the time you want students to complete it. Once you've filled out this criteria, you want to click Assign, and it'll push the assignments to students immediately. If you ever want to check or edit them, you can click Manage under Assignments, and you can see all the assignments you've given to students, the assignment itself, the due date and time, when you assigned it to students, how many of your students have completed it, and then if you needed to edit it, you can always adjust it by clicking under the Actions tab and selecting Edit, and the same pop-up box you used to create the assignment will appear again to make those adjustments. All right, I'm going to jump back into our slides. All right, so now that students have been given assignments, we want students to work on the assignments you've provided them. So what does that look like for a student? When students log into Khan Academy, they'll land here on their learner home. And so when they see on the left-hand side, they'll see all of their classes. And so for this case, Khan student, their first class says LearnStorm 2020 because that's the class I've given them. And then under that class name, they'll see 2 buttons, one for course mastery and one for assignments. If they click on assignments, they'll see all the assignments given to them by their teacher. And by clicking on the start button or on the assignment name, they'll jump right into the given assignment. Once students complete their assignments, you'll be able to claim progress on your LearnStorm tracker. This is a quick image of what the LearnStorm tracker looks like. As students complete assignments, they fill up levels or rings in the tracker. And as you can see right here, once they complete a full level, fun surprises happen, and they're not the same. So as your students make progress, you want to make sure you either, when you go to check the tracker, you want to make sure that you either have all your class with you when you do it, or that you record the progress so that you can share with your students at a later time. Unfortunately, once you hit the check progress button, you can't reset it. In order for students to earn a full level or full ring, you need the amount of assignments completed for 3 times the number of students in your class. So if I had 5 students in my class, I'd need them to complete 15 assignments for each ring to fill up. All right, so we're going to take a look at my class right now and just walk through how I would check my LearnStorm progress tracker. So if I log into Khan Academy, and here's a quick tip. If you want to get back to your homepage at any point, if you click the Khan Academy logo at the top of the page from anywhere on the Khan Academy site, it'll bring you back to your teacher dashboard. So from my teacher dashboard, I see in my banner, check my progress. Okay, and now it gives me an option to choose any of my current classes. There's also a demo option here. So if you want to preview what this looks like before showing it to students so you have an idea, you can always access the LearnStorm tracker demo here. Let's check my class though. So we're going to select LearnStorm 2020. That's my class. And I can see right now, I haven't got any assignments seen here. So this says complete 42 assignments for each ring because that's 3 assignments per student in my class. All right, so now I see here that I'm going to check for progress. So I'm going to click check for progress. And as you can see, the ring starts to fill up. And I promise this is much more exciting when you have students who are eagerly waiting to see how much progress they've made. And once you reach the full ring, so once it completes a full level, you get some sort of celebratory action. And so as the levels increase, the surprises tend to be a little bit more unique. And let's see here, we'll check one more time. Every time a ring fills, it'll pause just to show that celebration. And there's no limit to the number of levels your students can achieve. So we've seen classes reach 40, 50, 60 levels of assignments complete during LearnStorm because students get really engaged. And again, the one thing we will note is that you cannot reset the levels. So once you play the tracker, you can't go back. So make sure that your students are either with you to view the progress or that you make a recording. All right. So just some quick reminders here. In order to participate, you need to make sure you have a Khan Academy teacher account. Click the Enroll in LearnStorm button at the top banner. Roster your students. Create assignments and have students complete them. And then claim your progress in the progress tracker. What else is recommended? Not required, but strongly encouraged, is check to see if your course is mastery enabled. Set that course mastery goal. Give students a long-term goal to think about and use those shorter assignments as smaller steps, incentives, and for them to move towards their greater goal. Then either have your students with you or record claiming progress and watching the tracker fill up. And maybe set a schedule. Do something like a ring reveal we've heard is really great for your class to allow time for watching the tracker and then a moment for you to celebrate as a class. All right, we're gonna stop here and then surface some questions. We have a few minutes and I'd love to take some questions, as I'm sure Aviv, Elle, and Jeremy would as well.
Great, so Megan, one question we just got is when we check for progress, are we seeing, what does it mean that we're seeing progress? Is it just the check? Is it that they have to master an assignment to get progress? Can you talk about what we're seeing when the tracker fills up?
Yeah, absolutely. So when students complete assignments, it means that they've completed, not necessarily mastered, which is a really important clarification. And so when we think about the types of assignments that are available on Khan Academy, a little more specifically, if it is something with a question, so an individual exercise, a quiz, a unit test, it means the student made a valid attempt on each question in the assignment. It doesn't mean that they got all the questions correct. It means that they made a valid attempt on each question. And you can actually use Khan Academy's teacher reports to dive a little bit more deeply into how many attempts they made. Did they use hints? What type of answers did they provide instead of the correct answer? Then if you give an assignment instead without questions, if you use an article or a video, if they have an article for an assignment, all they need to do is open and read the article to get full credit for that assignment. If it's a video, they have to watch at least 90% of the video at no faster than 2 times speed. So if a student claims that they watched the video, but they're not getting credit for it, I would have them double check to make sure they're watching the video to completion and that they're not fast forwarding through it, because we do see that a lot. So to summarize, in order for them to get credit for completing the assignment, they either need to make a valid attempt on each question, read the article, or watch the video. Thanks, Aviv.
Thank you, Megan. We had a teacher ask or just share that students this year are a little bit all over the place. If a student doesn't complete their assignments or something changes and they're moved to another class, basically all the things we can just expect to happen. how should we plan for that? What can we do to make sure that the class is working at the same pace as much as possible?
Really, really realistic questions and classroom experiences. Most of us on this call are former educators, so that is a very real feeling for many of us. So a couple of things can be done. So if you have a new student join the class and the assignments are still active, you'll get a pop-up box that says, do you want to provide this student with all the active assignments? And if you click yes, they'll get everything that's active. Another option is if a student joins and things are no longer active, like they missed assignments from a week or two ago. A couple of things you can do. One, you can go into that Manage Assignments tab. And you know what? I'm going to switch and show this in my screen to make this a little more real. So if I was in my class and I'm under assignments and I choose Manage, let's say I have things that were due, today at 3 o'clock, which is after 3 o'clock. So if I wanted to instead, move this date and have, maybe I had new students join, or maybe I didn't quite cover as much of that concept as I wanted to, and I want to push the date back. If I click Actions and then select Edit, I can change the due date and move this forward so that it would include and then adjust which students it's assigned to, and I'd want to select all. And so then I could add in those new students who had joined the class late. Another alternative is that you can assign additional content to students that may need it. And so even if you're, differentiating for students and you want to give this group of students, one grade level below, and then another group on grade level, maybe another group with additional, ELA support, you can assign different things to all your students, and they all count. They all count towards LearnStorm progress. So some of those things that you're thinking about, students coming in late, maybe needing different supports to get them on grade level, or students who might need a little bit more extension to keep them engaged, all the assignments count. They don't have to be the same. And then when students switch classes, their progress travels with them, but not for the individual assignments. But there is a way to help students move between, if students have their Khan Academy account and they switch to a new teacher, their progress will still be there in the mastery realm. So the new teacher will be able to see where that student is at and then make assignments accordingly.
Thank you, Megan. We have some teachers asking if you could review again the difference between assignments and activities that are done that students are doing on their own through mastery goal or towards mastery goals.
Sure. I'm going to start, you know what, I'm going to look at, I'm going to log into my student account just for a minute here. I think that might give you a little bit better picture here. All right, so this is, again, just to frame everyone, we're now in a student account. And you can see this is my student account. And when I log in, I land on this page here. This is called the Learner Home. And you can see my classes are listed on the left-hand side. And under each class, you'll see there are two tabs, one for course mastery and one for assignments. So if I select assignments, those are the individual items that my teacher has provided to me and says, I should focus on this right now. We think of these as setting short-term goals for students to complete. And so this here would let them see all of the current assignments from their teachers. Again, these are individual content items. So think exercises, videos, articles, quizzes, they would all find right here. And you as a teacher can track those, and those all contribute to the LearnStorm tracker. What many teachers say they find useful is setting these individual assignments as short-term goals, but then using them in service of a greater goal and thinking about what can I learn and set as a big goal for my students for the entire year. So if the student instead clicks course mastery, they'll see this big button here that says, in this case, the course selection is get ready for 5th grade. And you can see the student has made 10% mastery progress on get ready for 5th grade. And what that means is they've mastered 10% of the course. And so if the student were to click on that, they'd be taken directly to the course, and they have the ability to work on any of the skills on that course. And you as a teacher will be able to see what they're working on. You'll be able to see what type of progress they're making, but this does not contribute to the LearnStorm tracker. This is kind of their broad, long-term, work independently type of mode.
Any other questions? Megan, we're fielding lots and lots of questions in the chat, so we're trying to send the ones that are trending.
No problem, no problem. I'm gonna surface one screen in case it's helpful as we're trying to answer some of those questions in the chat. Is that if you're looking for more information that'll have things like the step-by-step guide and some details about the specifics in terms of prizes that can be earned, you can go to learnstorm.khanacademy.org and it'll show all of the information we've seen today, plus some additional resources. And please feel free to use that site along with the step-by-step guide. And these slides are in the handout section of this webinar. So if you look under handouts, you'll see two options. There should be these slides and the step-by-step guide, which walks through everything we've done today a little bit more slowly with screenshots, and also provides additional links for some of those setup pieces and some links for additional information on things like the Khan Academy course mastery system and the available types of content that we have in terms of subject area or what you can use for assignments.
Thanks, Megan. Someone asked if you could speak to the role that mindset and growth mindset specifically plays in LearnStorm. Is it a must-do? Is it recommended? What does it have to do with LearnStorm and Khan Academy in general?
Yeah, excellent question. And one thing I would say is that growth mindset is something we believe in really strongly here at Khan Academy for all of our students, for all of our teachers, and for ourselves. You know, that keep going, keep growing mentality is something we hold really dearly. And we always think that LearnStorm, which is a great opportunity for students and teachers to start the year in an engaging way, it's also a great opportunity to talk to students about building a growth mindset. So no, it's not required, but we strongly encourage teachers to use the resources that we have on growth mindset with LearnStorm, because the two tend to work really well together. We have these great celebratory features that recognize student, work, while also helping them learn more about their brain and building growth mindset at the start of the school year and how they can use that throughout the year. And so I'm going to highlight here, if you look on, I've just selected our courses tab on the top left. And then if you go over to life skills and select growth mindset, that will show you everything that's available in terms of growth mindset. So here is an introduction for teachers, and then high school activities and elementary and middle school activities. And so again, while these are not required, you can assign these activities to your students and they count as assignments as part of LearnStorm. And what we found is that students and teachers alike have found these to be really great starts for the year. And it's not necessarily something that's focused on their, core academic content, right? It's not math, it's not English language arts, it's not social studies, but it allows students to really think about how their brain works, and that, failure is an opportunity to learn, and that all of those things that we talk about, building a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, and how important it is to start students grounded in that belief, as opposed to, just only thinking about the core academics, but more of the student as a whole person. And we like to blend those two together in LearnStorm. Again, we're talking about this really exciting opportunity. It's a fresh year, it's a fresh start for students and teachers. We're at a great opportunity to help build that growth mindset for students, and then think about connecting that throughout the year.
Thank you, Megan. We've had a pause in questions coming in right now, so we'll give folks another 30 seconds or a minute or so to type in any final questions you have. We're happy to stick around and keep answering. Megan, one question I can raise to you. We've had a couple iterations on this question. Teachers are interested in knowing what the real difference is between having a LearnStorm class and having a regular class. So Is your regular rostered class automatically in LearnStorm, or does LearnStorm show up as a separate class?
So LearnStorm can be used as part of your regular class. If I apologize for any confusion, we've called our class LearnStorm just for the purposes of demonstration. Once you choose to enroll in LearnStorm, all of your classes are automatically enrolled. You don't have to use the tracker if you don't want to in all of your classes, but any assignment you give will contribute towards LearnStorm. There's no need to create an additional class. If you've already got your classes up and rolling, no need to create anything new. Just click that enroll button in the top banner, and then your class is automatically enrolled. Some teachers prefer to create a separate class, but that's totally up to you. You know your students, you know your classroom best. So if you want to create a separate class, you absolutely can. But if you already have your classes rostered, no need to do anything else. Just click that enroll button at the top and you're good to go.
Thanks, Megan. Megan, can you review for us again what you had said about creating accounts for kids under 13?
Sure. So let me go back for a second here. So when you set up your class, I apologize for going through this so quickly. When you set up your class, you'll want to roster your students. And when you go to roster your students, you'll have 3 options. You can sync with your Google Classroom, which we do highly recommend if you use Google Classroom, and it'll pull in your roster automatically. The second option, I should say, I apologize, is for students to join with a class link using class code. And again, you can share that through your school's communication or messenger app. You can post it on a classroom whiteboard if you're in person. You can use, approximately takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get students rostered if you're doing it live in class time. And then if you're virtual, you can post the code on your screen and have students do it, and you can track them in real time. The third option is to create your students' accounts for them, which you can do. But if your students are under 13, this is a pretty good option. You can create accounts for them. You can set them up with their passwords and all of that. But students' accounts that are created by a teacher are marked as under 13, which means they have some limited functionality, like communicating with other users. It's safety protocols to keep students under 13 really well protected and safe while they're using Khan Academy. So if you have students who are over 13, we wouldn't recommend this because it limits some of their capabilities, and we want to make sure students are getting all the functionality they need to meet their needs. One thing I will point out though, regardless of how your students are set up, even if you create their accounts and assign their password the first time, there is no way for teachers to reset passwords. So if you choose to create student accounts, you'll have one opportunity to download that CSV with their usernames and passwords. So please, please, please take the opportunity to do so. You won't be able to go back and adjust their passwords for them. They can adjust their own passwords. If they're under 13, they'll need a parent to do that with them. If they're over 13, they can do that on their own. So you will not have the ability to go back and reset those passwords for them.
Thanks, Megan. Megan, tough question coming your way.
Okay.
How can teachers work with students during LearnStorm when the student isn't performing well, maybe completing assignments and not performing well? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, I would strongly encourage. So if you're having students who are, and I'm going to give you just like, let's take a look at one of my classes. So if I'm a teacher using Khan Academy and I log into my class and then I go down to assignments and I click scores and I look at some of my students and I realize they're not doing so well. So maybe I'm looking at this student here. Okay, I see he's done 75% on this one, 50% on this one. What I can do is I can look at the assignments and I can see which questions that student has missed. And I can see, maybe if I can also look at, if I wanted to look here, so I could see, in this case, if I go to scores and then I click on the individual tile here where it says view report, I'm just waiting for it to load, then I'll be able to see that student's individual responses. And so I might be able to work with that student one-on-one and see, okay, these are the 3 they got right, this is the one they got wrong. I can also look at this for my entire class, so I can switch to all my students. And so it'll filter my questions to the ones that are missed the most, so the most challenging questions for my students. And I can look here and maybe see common trends and maybe group students or use a challenging problem in my class. So then perhaps I'm using that in, a slide deck and giving each student an example problem and having them work through it, or an opportunity for a reteach to use in the whole class. To go back to the original question though, if I'm only looking at that student, if you can see maybe some of their responses and where they might be struggling, it's a great opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with that student, and perhaps even pull from content a grade level or 2 grade levels below, because you can access any of the content on Khan Academy, and potentially provide assignments to students that might help fill the gaps they have to help them be successful in the assignments that you provided to the whole class.
Thanks, Megan. Megan, what if the teacher across the hall for me is also enrolled in LearnStorm and is working on LearnStorm? What happens to my students then? Are they working towards completely different trackers? How can we work together? What must be kept apart?
So the assignments are specific to the class. So there isn't a way to merge assignments from 2 separate classes. What we find most schools and teachers end up doing is competing against each other in a friendly sort of way. And so the assignments they complete for one teacher do not count for another teacher. And so or at least towards the other tracker. And so as students complete assignments, if I'm one teacher, all the assignments they complete for me for that class contribute to that tracker. If that student then goes to the teacher across the hall, those assignments will be attributed to the class for the teacher across the hall. And the student can make progress in both, but they don't combine together. And like I said, a lot of teachers actually use this as an incentive for classes to compete against each other with some sort of, additional prize for the class that makes the most progress. It's surprising how competitive we've seen students and classes get over this. Some of the joyous celebrations that you saw earlier on are, the result of classes competing pretty energetically against each other.
Thank you. Megan, if I accidentally assign an assignment more than once and give them different due dates, will it count as one assignment?
If you accidentally make the assignment twice and it has 2 different due dates, it'll count as 2 assignments. But I can show you how to remove that accidental assignment. From your teacher dashboard, if you click on the class and under assignments, you go to manage. On the far right, you'll see a checkbox. If you click the checkbox, you'll now see that delete becomes available. If you select delete, you can remove the assignment for your students. So if you accidentally, give the same assignment twice, but you can remove those additional assignments you didn't want to be there.
Thank you. We've again had to slow down. Any final questions? Oh, this is actually a great question. Megan, if my students are progressing on LearnStorm through the activities I've assigned, but they're also doing some extra assignments on their own, will those extra assignments count towards the LearnStorm tracker?
Unless you've made the assignment. So some students, and I can think of a student from a couple years ago, kept asking his teacher for more and more assignments, and I think he did something like 82 assignments or something like that. If they're actual assignments provided by the teacher, they don't have to be class-wide. They can be just for that student, then they count towards the tracker. If the student is just working towards their mastery goal on individual activities and they're not assignments, they do not count towards the LearnStorm tracker. And we know that can be a little bit tricky and a little bit frustrating for students because they're making a lot of progress, they're putting a lot of time and effort into their learning, which is great, but they're not seeing that progress on the tracker. We know that can be frustrating, and it's definitely something we've thought about as an organization. But if it's an actual assignment from the teacher, it counts regardless if it's just for that student, a small group of students, or the whole class. If they're working on it independently, but it's not an assignment, then it does not count.
Thank you, Megan. Got a last couple of questions coming in. What if there are different grade levels in my inter-age class? Can I set different goals and use assignments across different grade levels?
Absolutely, and we would encourage you to do so. So if you want to, when you go to set that course mastery goal, and I'll go back to that screen. So from my class, I go to course mastery and I select placement. If I click create goal, I could set a different goal. So let's say I want to, in this case, I'm going to select edit courses. Let's say I have a couple of students who are doing 4th grade and a couple of students who are doing 6th grade and maybe even one doing 7th grade. I can select all of those. And so I can assign different goals to different groups of students by selecting which students I want to receive that goal. And so maybe I want, sure. And so that you can set goals for small groups of students, for the entire class, or just individual students. So maybe I do have that one student, just the one student, let's say, that I want to assign, 7th grade to. I can do that for just that one student. Yeah, we'll make it me. I can assign, pick the wrong one, I'm going too fast, but you can assign a goal based on each student's needs. So if you have an inter-age class, or you can absolutely assign different goals for different students, different assignments for different students. And it doesn't matter, they all contribute to the tracker. They all contribute to that success. So if you have students working on, a whole spectrum of content, as long as they're completing the assignments, they contribute to overall class success. So you can have your students broken out as much or as little as you'd like that best fits the needs of your classroom. And again, we trust you to make those decisions. You know your students, you know your classroom best.
Thanks, Megan. Megan, any tips on grading during LearnStorm? Have you seen any amazing best practices over the years?
Well, we do tend to focus more on the mastery piece than the, numeric values there at Khan Academy. We want students to try again and really earn deep understanding of concepts. So we focus more on that than we do on, the individual numeric grades per se. I don't know that I have a great suggestion for LearnStorm grading in particular. What we have seen that I think is a good tip that might be helpful, again, not grading specific, but if you see students who are struggling, who are completing the assignments, but maybe, falling into those lower numeric values, what we've seen is that students become really great supporters of each other in this. And so we've seen using the grades, the scores. So if you went to assignments and then selected scores. So if you're seeing students that aren't performing well, and that if they're struggling, using that as an opportunity because they only earn tracker progress as a class to encourage students to help each other to successfully complete assignments and do better. And we've seen that as a really great motivational tool, using those opportunities where students might be struggling to have other students work with them because they know they only get success as a class.
Thank you. Any final questions, teachers? Okay, Megan, I think we can wrap up.
All right, well, thank you from Jeremy and Elle and Aviv and myself. We really appreciate, we know this back to school is even more overwhelming than the usual back to school, which is a lot. So we thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We encourage you to, engage and motivate your students, using some of the things from LearnStorm, and definitely feel free to reach out and share with us either, through the Khan Academy site or on social media to let us know, what's working well for you and what can we do to better support you. And we're excited to see all the things you'll do with your students this year. So thank you so much for sharing your time, and we look forward to hearing more.